Brock Huard is such a great guest for us. Played in the NFL. He's doing the Oregon-Washington game this week, which if you live in the Pacific Northwest, it's just nothing but angst and animosity. It makes for great sports. I do want to talk about this, though, because you know the Seahawks as well as anybody at this network. And obviously, Geno is a fantastic story. He's become a very accurate thrower of the football. And we also know that this draft class is an all-timer. I mean, 5 stars, 6 guys playing a lot. But the defense has gotten so much better. They moved off a coordinator. Is it a combination of stuff for Seattle being the shock of the league? Well, or is it just Geno? What is it?
No, it's all of that, Colin. It is a rookie class that is now rivaling what they had in 2012 with Russell and Bobby and Bruce Irvin, who's now back in the fold, and a bunch of starters on the back end of that draft. So it's the rookies. It is absolutely the youth movement they made on their staff. They got rid of Ken Norton. They moved on from a secondary coach. They moved on from an O-line coach. Good coaches in the league, great resumes, but they had to get younger and hungrier on that coaching staff. So Sean Desai and Clint Hurt and Andy Dickerson, who came over with Shane Waldron, was in an assistant O-line role. He's got to be – I know they don't have assistant of the year in the NFL like they do in college, called the Broyles Award in college.
Yeah.
And I think actually the guy here in Eugene, Kenny Dillingham, the OC, should run away with that, and it shouldn't be close. But in the NFL, I may give it to Dickerson or Shane Waldron. I mean, those two and what they're doing with air raid offensive tackles, Colin. Okay, they were air raid offensive tackles at Wazoo and at Mississippi State. And now they're road graders and a couple of the best run blockers in the NFL. The little corner, not little, 6'4" corner was a receiver at UTSA. He was a road runner. And we asked Pete Carroll why he fell to the 5th round. He said, watch his college tape. I mean, it was not good. I mean, he couldn't play the position. And now he's the rookie of the month on the defensive side, 4 picks. Charles Woodson, we talked to yesterday, said, dude is unique and special. So it's a mix of all of that. And Pete is back in his happy place.
Yeah.
All right. You covered him. You know him from LA. At USC, he had new groups every 2 or 3 years. And he built a dynasty in the 2000s. He's got a new group now after 10 years. It is a new group, a new staff, new players. Pete's in his happy place, and they are, as you said, the biggest surprise in the NFL.
Before I get to college, he's got the Husky Duck game and also TCU Texas play this weekend. He called Texas last week. One more question. There's been 4 or 5 people taking shots at Russell Wilson. He's kind of image conscious, and he didn't wear a wristband for years. And it does worry me because most of the best quarterbacks do. It speeds things up. It's like doing math with a calculator. And it does worry me that Russell thought it didn't look right, the image of it, I can do it without that. Now he's going back to it. Is that a fair criticism that, some of his teammates in Seattle said he was a little image conscious instead of just like worrying about the team, it was Russ? Is that fair?
I mean, Colin, it's what happens when you're a franchise quarterback for a decade in one place. I mean, tell me one environment over the years where there was no noise at the end of a franchise quarterback's run or even in the midst of it. Maybe Brady and Belichick, but 6 Super Bowls couldn't keep their marriage together. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre in Green Bay, Big Ben in Pittsburgh. I mean, go through the franchise guys that are somewhere for 10 plus years. It's kind of like a starting quarterback in college football. The longer they're there, typically the more vitriol you get from the fans. So, yeah, after a decade, I think you're hearing some of these things that Pete, that organization, as they did with so many of their stars. Think about it, Colin. Think about the off-the-field stuff with Marshawn Lynch. Think about the headbutting with Richard Sherman. Think about the cast of characters, Michael Bennett. And all the way along, what did Pete and that organization do? They kept it quiet. They kept that noise. You love to say noisy, right? Noisy things bother you. Noisy teams bother you, rightfully so. They kept a lid on all of it. And, some of the friction at the end there with Russ and the franchise QB and everything else, Pete protected, he covered. But now that he's not, and when he's asked in particular about Geno, and, if the Seahawks are the biggest surprise in the NFL, go ahead, Colin, tell me. Tell me who has been a bigger – tell me the last Geno Smith, because I can't find it.
Yeah.
It's not Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner came out of nowhere, first organization. Tannehill is close, but Tannehill banked a lot of experience, big numbers in Miami, right system, right fit, comeback player of the year, numbers really that rival what Geno's doing this year. But again, he banked a lot of experience elsewhere. Tell me the last Geno Smith story.
Yeah.
4 organizations. Honestly,
It's
it doesn't and hasn't happened. And it's just truly extraordinary in our market.
okay. You're doing Washington at Oregon. Oregon's dominated this series. I have said, and not because I'm from the Pacific Northwest, I give them a little bit of a mulligan in Georgia. It's in the South, new team, new coach, new quarterback, new staff, and Georgia's probably the best team in the country. I'm not saying it shouldn't count for Georgia, but let's not be too punitive for Oregon. I think they're going to beat Washington. I think they're going to run the table. I think they win the Pac-12. I don't know what the secret sauce is, but they look big and athletic offensively. I think they have a chance to get to the playoffs. Am I nuts? What do you see on film?
No, I don't think you're nuts. The defense is worrisome. Washington's defense is more worrisome. You remember back in the 90s, Colin, do you remember this guy named Steve Entman?
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wore number 90. He was 6'5", 295, and 3 Arizona blockers couldn't corral him, right? I mean, he was number 2 pick, unbelievable player. They got a number 90, and this is nothing against Void Tunu Ufu, and he's a great kid, but he's wearing number 90, and he's 6 foot 255 playing D tackle. I mean, you just can't sustain. Oregon's interior, their D line against Ohio State, against Georgia, against the top level teams will have a hard time. Their defensive metrics are what they are.
Yeah.
They're near the bottom in third downs, near the bottom in some critical areas, pass defense. So they've got to score a lot. The good news for them, since Georgia, they've scored 48.5 points a game.
Yes.
Nobody is slowing them down.
Yeah.
And they've got 4 tight ends. They've got 4 running backs. They've got Bo Knows, this system. And Bo Knows and playing with a confidence that we've never seen before. Receivers are coming along, veteran O-line with a bunch of 5th and 6th year grown men. So their offense is real. As you said, having Washington and Utah at home, if they were on the road, maybe a different story, but they get them both at home. And then obviously Oregon State to end it before the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, I think Oregon's a real deal. I don't think they're going to lose again. We got a couple minutes left. Texas plays TCU. I like Texas in this game. You just had them. They now have Gary Patterson on the Texas staff. What concerns me about Sark in his career, he loses a lot of shootouts. His defenses never can quite. What do you make of Texas today?
Yeah, Texas is a little bit like, I mean, they're much more stable, so this isn't a totally fair comp. But they're kind of like the Arizona Cardinals. And remember the Cardinals last year?
Yeah.
Right? They started out so fast. They've got superstars. They've got great speed, great talent, but they just can't function together. They can't bind the team together. That's what you're talking about, right? Connecting the whole team, complementary in every phase. That's the challenge that Sark, I think, is still building. It was a big win on the road. They got over the hump, something they had not done on the road in 2 years there in Texas. Should instill a bunch of confidence. I need to see how healthy TCU is, right? That Big 12, we have seen surprises each and every week, and a lot of it has been based on health. And I think TCU going through a gamut they've never run through together, first time for Sonny Dykes and a lot of these pieces, I think that's why they're 7.5-point underdogs to a 3-loss team. Again, stuff you just normally don't see in college football. But kind of like the Seahawks, man, been topsy-turvy, fun year to follow.
Good stuff. Brock Huard, Fox Sports, doing Washington at Oregon, 7 Eastern. I'll be watching 4 Pacific on Fox. Great seeing you, bud, as always.
Thanks, Colin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.